Good evening, 2Old4Forza. It's SoCal with Track Guide for round 2 of TNT Season 38 and the Radical RXC. Week 2, we're going to be racing Maple Valley Full. And this is going to be... Sorry, I'm adjusting buckets. I should have done this before starting stream. But this is going to be a tale, and actually, let's... back out of this and see if I can get a different lighting for Maple Valley. So just in my own test driving, Maple Valley is very similar to what we just had at Watkins Glen. Maple Valley is a very flowing track. It's a very but unlike Watkins Glen, I would say it's a very flowing track, but some of its cornerings are a little more extreme, as well as the elevation changes. I think in some cases, Maple Valley is bringing out an aspect of the car that I think some of you noticed at Watkins, but it's, at least for me now, is very noticeable here, where this car has got, even though it will push, if in some of the longer corners, if you're on full throttle, the front grip relative to the rear grip is very noticeable here. This car has got lots of front grip, to the point where the back gets a little unsettled. So it's taken me quite a bit to try and figure out what's the best way around here. That looks like we're still going to have the sunset. Now, the reason being, for Maple Valley, the rearview mirror, if you're in hood view, this is one where the rearview mirror will be pretty dark, or maybe pretty dark. But anyhow, what I want to do is I want to kind of do this the way I used to do it way back in the day. I'm actually just going to go into test drive really quick, and just crank out an outlap and a flyer just to kind of get the flow back in, and then we'll slow it down and do a slow lap, and then I'll tell you kind of what I'm feeling as far as what the car wants to do, how the car wants to be driven, and then I'll get into mock race at the end, and really see what the car does over the course of what I think is going to be a half distance. So let's go ahead and go to. So yeah, we'll just do an outlap of the flyer. Long corner. Get back to full throttle really early. Curbing will be dangerous, depending on how much yaw is in the car when you hit it. Leave it at third there. That's going to be so tricky. Amazing how much time, very little braking. You're on full throttle quite a lot. See if I can do better. I think that we'll talk about that, what this car does in that uphill. And all right, so we'll slow it down here. And okay, so that's kind of a lap, fast lap. So again, coming down to turn one, you're going to be in fifth gear. You're going to be right at the red line for fifth. I wouldn't switch to sixth, because you're at this point, if you've gotten a great run to the last turn, you're going to be just about. And I would say, if you want to look at your speedometer, if you want to take a quick glance, if you've gotten a good exit out of the final corner into the front straight, 179 is probably what you're going to be touching as you're getting down into turn one. At that point, that you're really now fighting the downforce, so it's not going to go much quicker in a straight line. You're not going to get much more benefit. I'm going to put it up to sixth and get more torque. You're going to hit the downforce drag wall at that point. So just leave it in fifth. So this car, you're going to brake very late into one, at least later than in other cars that we've raced here. And if you've raced a lot of Maple Valley, you'll realize heading into turn one, into the braking, that you've got that very pronounced. There's a bump going in, so it'll drop away about here. And I actually, for my braking, as you saw on my hot lap there, I am already kind of turning the car to the right, because I'm going to brake kind of in a straight line. There's going to be a couple of corners I do this at where I'm not necessarily going to follow the natural braking line or the suggested braking line. I'm actually going to dive a little bit inside it and straighten it out a little bit. The term I've known it to be called is diamonding the corner. It's a term I learned from IndyCar racing when they're on ovals like Milwaukee, and you're drafting up in the guy, and you take a more direct line to dive to that apex first. So it's calling it diamonding the corner, because you're taking a sharper angle in. So I kind of do something similar here as well under braking. Where I'm looking to brake is somewhere between, and this is this is where I'm using the grid, position on the track is kind of the helpful hint of where I want to brake. So it's going to be just past this one, but if I do it right before this one, if I'm braking at it, it might be a little late. But I'll be in fifth gear here, brake, down to fourth, not reverse, down to fourth, and I'll be braking till probably about here. It's before I get to the curbing on the inside there. This is where also I start to differ from what the suggested line the game gives. Once I've got the car slowed down and I've released the brake, I'm rolling. I'm trying to get back to full throttle way back here in the corner. Again, this is very long sweeper, but you'll be surprised how early you can get back to full throttle and hold the inside. Again, curbing, you're probably not going to be at risk of hitting the curbing there. Just know that this green pit lane kind of barrier, there is a bit of it. You can kind of just see how it angles. The pit lane exit is a little bit higher than the race surface, so that transition there in the green, there's a little bit of a bump there. So you can get close to it. Just know that if you get your right sides on it and you're in the turn, you're on full throttle, the car may wiggle a little bit. So I would just say, again, stay a little bit off of it, but you can kind of hug the inside of this the whole way through. Now about here, the suggested line is going to widen the arc out, to the trees that are straight ahead there. Then you'll bring it back across for the left, for the double apex left coming up. I've tried that, and I tend not to go all the way out that far. I don't hug all the inside either, or or I'll be closer to the inside. I might be out a little bit. Um, but a couple things to notice. Early, early on, this is where this car, because it's got a lot more front grip than you think to the rear, that the rear is going to get a little squirrely at certain places around the track, and I think it'll be that way until you get some wear in the fronts. I think once you get past 15% and the fronts go yellow, um, the car is going to lose a little bit. I'll put it this way: it's very pointy on turn in. You're going to notice a lot of grip on initial turn in. At the start of the race and certainly after your pit stops. But once you get past 15%, that'll lessen a little bit, and the car kind of balances back out. But what you'll notice is, and I don't know if it matters. I don't think it matters what line, but if you're going to be on full throttle, coming through this sweeper, just as you pass the trees, and you're going to probably put a little more steering in, you may feel the back end slide just a little bit here. The back end will just step out just that little bit. It's not gonna spin out. I've not had to counter steer or anything against it. It's just notice that it kind of, again, it's relative to how much steering you've put in and how much grip are in the front tires, that the back will get a little loose and then just shift slightly. The back will shift out to the left a little bit and then reset in. So just be aware of it. Don't be surprised. Um, but one of the reasons, and I'm still maybe trying to figure this out, but I like hugging the inside here just so that the car's in a better position and I'm straighter when I'm getting ready for these next two left-handers. Because if you're following the suggested line, you're actually coming back as you're coming up to this left-hander. The car, you're going to be pointed slightly to the right, and then you're now having to rotate the car even further to get through the corner. That's one of the reasons why I don't like it. And again, just the way the handling with this car is, especially on newer tires, because the front's got so much grip and the back relative to the back, where I believe it's much easier than for the back end to step out or want to get really loose when you try to turn in for this next corner. So play around with that, find out what's comfortable for you. What I tend to do in the race is as I'm coming up here, I'm going to actually turn the braking line back on for a second. I just want to see exactly where it is. There we go. Yeah. So you can see the point where the suggested line is right about parallel. It's close to the outside line of the right side white line as possible. It also kind of corroborates with that Forza board that's kind of in the grass there. That's about where I'm looking to turn in. But this is about the point where you're going to be, if you've gotten a good run out of the first turn, you're going to see the red for the suggested line. This is usually where I'll roll out of the throttle and be off throttle just prior to getting to this point. And then I'll be off throttle through here. And if I've done it right and I don't jerk the stick to the left, the car should arc into this first corner very nicely. Again, if you notice there, it's kind of like you're kind of diving into the turns. There's a little bit of a crest coming in. I've not felt the back end. The only time I feel the back end step out, again, is if I try to throw the car in. So I think you guys on the wheel, as you get settled in and you arc the car in and you're just putting the amount of steering that you need, you should be able to mitigate. That alone should help keep the back end in line. You can use a little bit of this inside curve or the curb, but I would be careful how much throttle. I think for me, it's like I'm not on the throttle at this point, so I'm off throttle, getting the car through this curve, through this part of the curve, off the curb. Once I'm off of it, I'll start rolling back into the throttle. Because depending how much steering you have in, if you've got too much throttle or you've too much steering, when the left side rears get on that, they might spin up a little bit, and you might get the car a little bit loose going over that curb because you've got you've got weight transfer on the right side of the car. As you're coming out here, you can roll back into the throttle, bring it out to here. Again, the suggested line says you can get and put your right side tires on that curbing. I would suggest not. I stay off of that if at all possible. Again, if you've gotten back to throttle and you're on full throttle at this point, you still got steering angle in to the left. You still got weight, transferred to the right side of the car. You drop the right rear on that curbing, the car's gonna snap a little bit. It's gonna get loose. You're gonna have to get out of the throttle and then roll back in. And this is critical part. You really want to be able to get a good run out of this corner. Again, back to full throttle here. I think I'm in third, maybe fourth at this point. Let's see. No, wait. Let me back up here a little second. So no, I'm fourth gear through turn one, so I'm still in fourth at this point. Nice full throttle here. Again, be mindful of how much steering you're putting in, and for you guys on the wheel, I think one of the tricks that you'll learn with the wheel is unwinding the wheel coming out of the corner. You only want the amount of steering in that you need, and because this car is very, very grippy, I've had a couple of occasions where I've cut this a little bit and have felt the back tire spin up, and I'm full throttle. It's like I didn't do anything out of the ordinary, but there was just enough steering angle in where the front's gripped up and the back wiggled on me. So unwind the car, bring it all the way out. Sometimes I can use the cones here on the right side as a target to be out to the right side of the track here. Fourth gear, usually then if you've done this right, you should be around 6,000 RPM. So I'm shifting to fifth as I crest this hill. Thankfully, with the amount of downforce, you don't have to worry about the back end. The rear tires spinning up as you crest that hill like we had with the Astons. And if you hit it straight, you're going to be fine. So at this point, fifth gear, all the way down. Usually then as I'm passing like the flags there on the right, and I can spot the flags on the left, then I can start to bring the car back across. You can clip that a little bit without worry of unsettling the car. Bring the car back out. Still in fifth gear. Now for this corner, where I'm braking at, and this is where I'll differ from the braking line, is I'm braking right at these white barriers here. That's what I'm using. This is another one where you can kind of see that the suggested line is more like the brake in the straight line, and then it wants you to take a late apex through the corner. And I kind of still do that, but I get there a little differently. So usually, and I think this is because this is how I pass the AI, as I take this line, is when I brake, I actually will brake down to third on the inside of this line. I'll be in third here, and then as I release the brake, then I'm right on the curbing here on the inside. And then I just hug it a little bit more, roll back into the throttle. Now, at this point, I might follow the line out of the corner. I might actually, kind of cross over and exit, have an earlier exit out where I'm out a little bit wider. That's how I usually get in the corner here. And again, the line's actually pretty good here. So you straighten it out. And I just kind of make a straight line from here almost down to the next corner. This is where I differ from the suggested line as well. Is I will follow at this point, get it to here. Now, instead of keeping it to the right and setting up for the hairpin, I actually take an angle in. And what I'm looking for is, you kind of see the dirt patches there in the grass on the left side. I'm going to try and center it up. It is actually, let's do it this way. Do photo mode. So what I am looking for is much tougher to see. Photo mode. All right, this isn't working out how I planned it. Yeah, it's that one right there. This big patch of dirt. In photo mode, it looks a lot bigger than it does in the game. But let me back out, get back in the cockpit view here, and I want to try and center it up. So if you're looking at if you go from the rearview mirror, from the middle of the rearview mirror straight down, you can see the patch of dirt in the grass. That's what I'm looking for, and you can kind of tell it sticks out a little bit more than the previous patch where it's, from this perspective. But that's what I'm looking for as my breaking point. So again, I'll be straight lining on the inside, and as I get there, this is where I'm braking. Again, I think it's something I've picked up from racing against the AI, because I'll dive bomb them into this corner. But it's a downshift. Let's see, third gear coming out of the previous turn up there, up to fourth. I'm back down to third at this point. Once I get in the inside, then yeah, I'm kind of following the line here at this point. Modulating the throttle and out. Back up through the gears, third gear, fourth gear. Now this next corner, this is now, we get into the back, what I call, what I would think of as the back half of the course. This is where, because of all the elevation changes, this is where this car gets to be a bit tricky to get to drive quickly around Maple Valley, because we're now hitting these areas of very sharp elevation changes in high-speed corners, and it's kind of that, the nose, we've got a lot of downforce, we've got a lot of front grip, and now we're adding compression to that. This car can get a bit unsettled. So and following the line here, what I've noticed early on is, as you pass under the bridge, or at least the other part of the track, as you cross back under it, that's where I'm turning in. And what you'll notice that I'll do sometimes is I'll do a quick confidence lift. I'll quick lift off the throttle and right back in. And that's to kind of help with the turn in a little bit, and get the car to rotate a little bit more, because it'll push it a little bit at this point. But I will be back on the full on throttle, and I am actually trying to follow what the line is suggesting. Is you're going to late apex as you crest the hill. The nice thing is, if you get it right, you're kind of cresting over the hill almost straight. So there, you don't have to worry about, but the back end can step out a little bit. You might feel the back end of the rear tire spin up a little bit. Also, this is another one of these, you really don't want to drop tires on the left side on the curbing or in the grass, because again, if you do, it's going to hook the car, and then it's really going to bring the back end down. But as I said in the chat, this next corner coming up is, I think, going to be the most challenging corner for any of us or any of you guys to get right consistently. Because this is one of these that you're gonna turn in, and it's going to be a balancing act, because it's a gradual uphill, then it gets a little sharper. So let's not talk about it. Let's just start driving through it. So what I've been trying to do is, if you saw in the hot lap, and you'll see it when I do the mock race, if you've gotten a good run, if you've got the braking line on, if you've gotten a good run up through the previous corner, you're going to see a patch of yellow, and then you won't see the line at all, and then it'll go yellow, then to red as it goes up over the hill. So I'm using that first patch of yellow as kind of a reference point, and I think it lines up. I'm not sure I think it's with this sign here. It might be with the next one, where I'm trying to roll out of the throttle. I'm not trying to snap off the throttle. I'm just trying to roll out of the throttle a little bit before I start to turn the car in. And this is where I'm not braking for this, and this is where I think you guys will need to experiment with what you think works best for you. My general philosophy is I don't want to break through this corner unless I absolutely have to. I want to kind of let gravity and the gearing kind of do the work for me to slow the car down over the hill. You certainly, I have, just for kicks and giggles, I have tried to say, hey, can I take it flat out? No, you can't take it flat out. You'll get about halfway through the corner, and then when the elevation change gets a little sharper, the car's just going to push off to the left side. Um, I also don't like charging into this corner full throttle, just because at the point where you're going to need to do something, either you're going to need to brake or let off the gas, just because of the weight transfer and how grippy the front is. Really, it unsettles the car. So I want to try and smoothly get this car through the corner. So I'm letting off at this point off the gas, very gently, turning the wheel. And I don't hug the extreme inside. I've been actually trying to take maybe a slightly wider arc in, and then kind of meet up with the line as I get to the top of the hill. That seems to work for me, though. Again, it's not 100% consistent, but it's just being very gentle with throttle, off the gas, let the car slow down, let gravity do the work for you. Here's about the point you can kind of see where the elevation's now got a little more sharp. This is the point where you might feel the back step out a little bit, and this is the balancing act, because you're hitting the incline's getting a little bit steeper, and that transition point is going to put a little more weight in the front. At least that's how I'm interpreting it. But the back end will want to step out a little bit because you're steering to the right, and you've got the weight shifted to the left side of the car. So just be aware that might happen as you're coming up over the crest. So still off the gas, still off the gas, still off the gas. And I think speed-wise, 100 miles an hour is probably the slowest you'd want to be at this point. It's somewhere between 100 and 110. Seems to be about the right speed as you're cresting the hill. Because for me, if you've done this right and the car's behaved, as you kind of crest the hill here, you're still going to be carrying a nice amount of momentum. The car's going to just naturally want to move out to the left. But this is once I've gotten to the top of this hill and it's flat, that's when I'm starting to roll back into the throttle. And for me on a controller, it's, I'm kind of balancing the throttle here. You can bring the car pretty much all the way out to the left side here. Again, I'm in fourth gear. Stay off the curbing. Again, because you're trying to get back to full throttle. You're going to have a lot of throttle in at this point if you've done it right, and curbing's going to upset it. So arcing it through here, you're going to take a late apex. This is about the point, and here's the challenge for you guys as you're doing your practice. This is about the point where if you're smooth with your steering and you can kind of keep the back end in check, from here all the way to turn one, you can do full throttle. And you don't have to do any, if you do the line right, you can stay full throttle the entire time. You might, if not, at most, you're probably just going to, out of the throttle and back in, just to kind of help, keep the, at least that's how I still steer, where I'll pop out of the throttle and then roll back in to help the front turn, because I'm starting to chase the car. I'm pushing a little bit. So for the line here, I tend to use, again, to kind of corroborate the line with other, landmarks on the track. Again, your turn in is probably going to be as you're just passing this curb here. And my tendency is I tend to turn in a little bit early. So, but as I'm turning in early, I don't know if that tire barrier is going to be there in the race. But you can bring it across here. You can, if you get your left sides on the grass a little bit, it's risky. It's just making sure that you're hitting it as straight as possible, or that you're not having any excessive steering in the car when you hit it, to where it'll kick the back end out. So again, just kind of follow it, going straight through here. You can if you can get a straight enough line, you can cut that curbing a little bit. And the same thing for the next one. is you can cut the curbing a little bit, but you really want to try and take it straight and then get off of it. Heading up here, I'm usually still in fourth. I kind of try to time where I'm turning in based off that tire barrier over there, because it is a blind entry into the downhill. And so I kind of, as I'm kind of reaching that, then I know I can actually start to turn in a little bit. And this is going to be one. Be careful. You really don't want to get you don't really drop tires at all here. This is one of those areas you're going to be full throttle. You might be in fourth. You might be upshifting to fifth. Really try to do your best to stay off the curbing here on the inside, because it's very easy to actually get the tires past it into the grass, and it will hook the car and it will pitch you sideways. It's not going to rotate you. You're not going to do a 180, but it will kind of put you into a four-wheel slide as you come out of the corner. So just be wary of that. If you're following somebody and they look like they're turning in too early, just know that that's probably what's going to happen and adjust accordingly. So finish out the lap. I'm heading down the hill, fifth gear, and you can do this flat out. And getting down again using the signboards on the left side. It's usually about the white. As you're passing this white one here is about where you're doing the turn in, and very little turn in is needed. I think at least with me with the controller. I'm actually pushing up. I'm not actually pushing to the right. I'm actually going more kind of up at a diagonal, just to try and limit how much steering I'm actually putting in, because the car will turn through. You might even see some sparks from it bottoming as you get to the apex. But you are taking this in fifth gear, full throttle. I've not tried it, but I would be careful again, because the grip levels front to rear. I'd be very careful about releasing the throttle or thinking about doing a confidence lift through here if you get it wrong, because again, you're going to be hitting max compression. If you release out, the back end's really going to step out. So I would say try and work to the point where you're taking this full throttle on lap after lap. Now, entering pit lane's a whole other challenge, and I don't know that I've got that figured out. There's not enough. What I can tell you is there's not enough grip that if you get through here to keep the car to the right to go into the pit lane. This turn as well, at least from my practice, you can turn in slightly late, or if you're a little bit late on your turn in, you can probably still salvage this turn and not lose much time, and the car might feel a little more comfortable. So we'll see how well I do this last turn during the race, but I'm not even sure what the best way to get into pit lane is at this point, just given how the car's balanced, and whether if you're going to get in. I would probably say during the race, if you're looking to make a pit entry, you really don't want to have somebody on your tail, especially if they're in one of the higher buckets right behind you. I would try to work your pit strategy, and when you're pitting, when you have a clear entry and you've got nobody right behind you. So anyhow, as you come out of the corner here, you'll be full throttle. You might hit that just slightly. That's fine. Bring the car out, and then you're back on the front straight. So that's a lap. This is going to be a challenging car. I think there are some of the obvious passing. Obviously, there are obvious passing zones where you can obviously pass another car. Anywhere you're redoing heavy braking, if you've got a run on somebody, is going to be a place to look to make the pass. But I think most of the other time, it's really just paying attention to what's going on with the guy in front of you and looking for when they've made a mistake, especially in some of the areas where the car is going to be a little bit tricky to get through the corner, or where you might get unsettled, and just pay attention to that. So with that, I'm going to finish the test drive. Actually, I'm going to turn the assists off first. get back to braking only. And we'll finish the test drive. Now for today's race, I'm going to change the number of laps. I'm estimating, just off my own kind of practice, that you're probably going to be doing maybe around 50 laps around here. It is a very fast lap, so it's going to be a long one. So don't freak out when you see the lap count. Just understand it's a fast lap, but at least for my practice race here today, the prototype cars I was racing at last week aren't that quick, because it's another case where the AI is just really bad here because they break in corners that they shouldn't. So I've kind of had to up the buckets, so to speak. So I'll be racing against Forza P1. They're actually the slowest that I'll be racing against, and then we've adding in some Indy cars, and then for the guys that are definitely quicker than me, we're going to go Formula 90. Hopefully that should space things out. And I'm actually going to, and again, you saw the beginning, I backed these guys up a little bit, just to hopefully maybe make the race a little more interesting. So we'll find out. Yeah, let's go ahead and start. The other thing I think you guys might want to pay attention to is just I think there are 2 times a day here at Maple Valley, but just know that one of them, for those of you that are going to use hood view, you're going to have you're probably going to have a dark rearview mirror, so just kind of be aware of that. Actually, I don't know, if you do cockpit view, got decent rearview mirror there, but nope, I do hood. While we're waiting to start, I will say, this track, as you kind of noticed how fast the tires kind of wore at Watkins Glen, I think they wear quicker here, but the fronts are definitely going to wear. I think I was at 15% before lap 10. We'll see where that's at then. The other thing, just maybe just kind of point out, is really start to listen to what the tires are doing relative to what the car is doing. Just if you can tune your ear to listening to the tires. Oh, late turn in. You can hopefully hear them start to break loose before the car breaks loose. A little bit later. Right? See how it was full throttle and the car just kind of rotated there? It was late. You can see the back end wanted to step out. But early on, you just might have to live with trying to catch the back end until the front's wear enough where the car balances out a little bit. I got in the grass a little bit, but didn't turn in quite what I wanted to. That's about how I like to do that when I get it right. Whoa! I think I'm turning in a little too late for that left-hander. I went down second there. Didn't need to. Formula 90s cars are definitely quicker on their own. They don't do well in traffic, and again, there's still those couple of spots where the AI is they just brake for no reason. Like, chicane up here is going to be nice and fast. Whoa! Too severe of a turn in. A little over 8 laps in. How are my front tires? Typically, I'm just going to pit about halfway. Yeah, I'm just cracking the throttle slightly with that left-hander just to keep the back end in line and not spinning up the rear tires. But chasing the car a little bit. throttle. I think the key to that is just, it's that you want to be smooth coming out of the throttle and smooth with the turn in. Just so that the back end doesn't start to wiggle. Almost 25% after 10 laps. Now, wheel users, obviously, your tire wear should be much better than mine. Why do you slow down there? Yeah, so 50% at me, 50% at 20 laps. Halfway is going to be roughly 25. So yeah, I mean, you could probably do half the race. Oh, I didn't get that right. Obviously. See, there's that, I just hooked the inside of the grass there while I had steering. Stepped out a little bit. We will box slap. Oh shit. Actually, I'm going to do one more lap. I want to have a lap coming down the hill at full chat. Figure out what might be the best way to get into the pit lane quickly. If I come across that Peugeot again, oh, I am just all sorts of sucking right now. Oh, it's the front-wheel drive Nissan prototype. Low as hell. Alright. We both in the pits at the same time. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you how to get into the pits easily. There is going to be some sort of a lift. I don't know if I don't think you're going to need to do a lot of braking, but you're going to want to probably lift a little early before you turn in. Again, the idea is to try and you don't want to put too much extreme weight transfer at the same time. You know, we're releasing the throttle and turning in when you've got a lot of weight in the front. But out of the way. Flow through here. You're frickin' LMP1 car. We will just floor it. I think pit entry practice is going to be very important this week. Didn't time that right. I was going to try and cross over and then pass one or two of them before they check up midway through that double apex, and then they check up again, pressing the hill. And two areas they shouldn't. Probably a little early on this one. All right, let's see if we can. Looks like it's unclear. Check. I had to back out of the throttle there, so this will not be a good one. I think on my own, perfect lap, low 18s. I think a 17 is possible. Maybe a high 17. But that's optimal. Everything, I've gotten everything right. No mistakes, no scrub speed. Um, you know what? I'm probably just gonna spin. Good to go. Here, there's the wall. Okay, I feel better now. I'm cutting it too close on the right side, and I just dropped tires off the track as I'm trying to turn in, and then I'm late. There you go. Peugeot in front of me. Oh, there's a little loose. So you can see I was kind of half throttle head going up the hill. And then when I released the throttle right at that point where the incline steepens, you could just kind of see how the front hooked more and unsettle the back end. There you go. Excuse me. That's why that turn I think is gonna you can master that more consistently than your opponents. It was too early. You get some clear track. Gentle, gentle, gentle. Yeah, you can be a little bit late in that final turn, and if you don't want to risk, clouding the inside wall at the apex, you've got plenty of downforce to work with. So, of course, it's stuff. There's an 18-1 dirty. Another Peugeot. I'll try and be nice this time. So that's the danger of the dive bomb. And I'm going to rewind that. I don't want to. That's the danger of doing that kind of diamond dive bomb in traffic. Is if the other guy doesn't know you're there, he's going to swipe across you, and it does not take much contact to get this car sideways. Stay out there, and you're going to check up here. There you go. Nice. Get into a tank slapper down the backstretch. car. $18.2. That's Maple Valley in the Radical. Yeah, this is going to be it's going to be an interesting race to, at least for me, it's going to be an interesting race to watch. Just to see how you guys kind of handle, at least for those of you that stream, how you guys handle the balancing act. So hopefully this helps, kind of correlate things that you're learning as you're doing your practicing, and hopefully it helps you smooth out so you guys have a good race and don't have anybody swearing or throwing controllers or like that. Anyhow, with that, I think I'm just gonna call it a night. You guys have a good weekend and happy racing.